My ex-wife invited me to her wedding to humiliate me, then I arrived in a helicopter. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday morning. At first, I thought it had been sent by mistake. I stared at the elegant cream-colored envelope sitting on my kitchen counter while my coffee grew cold beside me. The sender's name made my stomach tighten. Emily Carter. My ex-wife. The woman who had shattered my heart 3 years earlier. The woman who had walked out of our marriage and into the arms of another man. The woman who hadn't spoken to me in over 2 years. Yet somehow, she was inviting me to her wedding. I laughed when I opened it. Not because it was funny. Because sometimes life becomes so absurd that laughter is the only response. The invitation was beautiful. Gold lettering. Luxury venue. 5-star catering. A destination wedding held at a historic estate overlooking the ocean. Everything about it screamed success. Everything about it seemed carefully designed to send a message. Look how happy I am. Look how much better my life became without you. Look what you lost. I tossed the invitation onto the table. Then my phone buzzed. A text message. From Emily. Hope you can make it. It would mean a lot. I nearly dropped the phone. In 12 words, she had managed to sound polite and cruel at the same time. For a long moment, I considered deleting the message. Instead, I typed a simple response. Congratulations. Nothing more, nothing less. She replied almost immediately. I'd really like you there. That was when I knew. This wasn't kindness. This wasn't closure. This wasn't friendship. This was something else. Because Emily never wanted anything without a reason. And if she wanted me at that wedding, there was a reason. A very specific reason. The funny thing is that if someone had asked me 3 years earlier whether Emily and I would end up divorced, I would have laughed in their face. We were the couple everyone admired. High school sweethearts. Married at 26. Built our lives together from almost nothing. For nearly 15 years, we seemed inseparable. But appearances can be deceiving. Especially when one person quietly stops believing in the relationship. The first signs were small. Cancelled date nights. Less conversation. More criticism. Then came the comparisons. Emily started mentioning successful people she knew. Friends who owned companies. Neighbors with luxury cars. Entrepreneurs who traveled first class. At first, I thought she was simply making conversation. Later, I realized she was comparing me to them. And I was losing. I worked as a paramedic. I wasn't rich. I wasn't famous. I wasn't powerful. But I loved helping people. That had always been enough for me. Unfortunately, it stopped being enough for her. The divorce came quickly, unexpectedly, painfully. Within 6 months, everything we had built together was gone. The house, the future, the dreams, even some mutual friends disappeared. Apparently divorce makes people choose sides. Emily moved on almost immediately. Social media showed vacations, luxury restaurants, a new boyfriend named Richard. Everything looked perfect. Meanwhile, I focused on surviving. I worked longer shifts, volunteered when I could, tried rebuilding my life one day at a time. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't exciting, but it was honest. Then something happened that changed everything. One rainy evening, while responding to an emergency call, my partner and I arrived at a multi-car accident on a highway outside the city. The crash was severe, multiple injuries, heavy traffic, chaos everywhere. Among the victims was an older man trapped inside an overturned SUV. The vehicle had caught fire. Most people were backing away. The flames were spreading. There wasn't much time. Without thinking, I climbed inside. To this day, I don't remember feeling brave. I remember feeling terrified. I remember hearing metal crack. I remember smoke filling my lungs. Most of all, I remember seeing fear in the man's eyes. We managed to get him out seconds before the vehicle became fully engulfed. The story made local news. Then national news. Then international news. Reporters called. Television stations requested interviews. I declined most of them. I wasn't interested in becoming famous. I had simply done my job. What I didn't know at the time was that the man I saved happened to be one of the wealthiest philanthropists in the country. His name was William Thornton. Several months later, he contacted me. At first, I assumed he wanted to say thank you. Instead, he offered me something unexpected. A position, not as an employee, as a partner. William had spent years funding emergency medical innovation projects. He wanted someone with real field experience helping lead one of his new ventures. I initially refused. Then he convinced me to listen. The opportunity wasn't about making money. It was about improving emergency response systems and saving lives. That part got my attention. 3 years later, the organization had expanded internationally. Thousands of first responders used technology we helped develop. Communities benefited, lives were saved, and yes, financially, things changed dramatically for me. Much more than I ever imagined. Yet strangely, success never felt as important as purpose. The mission mattered, the people mattered, the impact mattered, money was simply a byproduct. I rarely spoke publicly about any of it. Most people from my past had no idea how much my life had changed. Including Emily. Especially Emily. A week before the wedding, another text arrived. "We've arranged seating. Hope you'll come." I stared at the message. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of feeling angry, I felt curious. Why was she trying so hard? What exactly was she expecting? Eventually, I accepted. Not because I wanted revenge. Not because I wanted validation. Because after 3 years, I wanted peace. The wedding day arrived bright and clear. Ocean waves sparkled beneath a cloudless sky. Guests filled the historic estate. Luxury vehicles lined the entrance. Photographers moved between groups of elegantly dressed attendees. Inside, conversations buzzed. Champagne flowed. Everything looked exactly the way Emily always dreamed it would. What nobody expected was the sound. At first, it was distant. A faint thumping in the sky. Then heads began turning upward. Conversations stopped. Guests shaded their eyes. The noise grew louder, and louder, and louder. A helicopter appeared over the coastline. The aircraft descended toward a designated landing area near the estate. People started whispering. Phones appeared. Someone pointed. Another person gasped. The helicopter touched down smoothly. Dust swirled across the grass. The door opened, and I stepped out. The crowd froze. I wasn't trying to make an entrance. The helicopter belonged to Williams Foundation. We had been inspecting a nearby emergency response facility earlier that morning. The aircraft was simply the fastest way to arrive. But nobody knew that. To the guests, it looked like something entirely different. The expressions on their faces were unforgettable. Shock, confusion, curiosity, and in Emily's case, disbelief. Standing beside her future husband, she stared as if she had seen a ghost. For a moment, nobody moved. Then William emerged from the helicopter behind me. Several guests immediately recognized him. Whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire. Everything changed. Suddenly, people who hadn't spoken to me in years wanted conversations. Former friends wanted photographs. Business leaders wanted introductions. The attention felt uncomfortable, almost embarrassing. Then I noticed something. Near the back of the venue stood a catering employee. A young woman, nervous, crying quietly. Nobody else seemed to notice. Everyone was too busy watching the spectacle. Without hesitation, I walked away from the crowd and approached her. She looked surprised. "Are you okay?" I asked. Her eyes widened. She quickly wiped away tears. "I'm fine." She clearly wasn't. After a few gentle questions, the truth emerged. Her father had suffered a medical emergency earlier that morning. She couldn't leave work. She couldn't afford to. And she had no transportation to reach the hospital afterward. Fear radiated from every word she spoke. For a moment, the wedding disappeared. The attention disappeared. The helicopter disappeared. Nothing mattered except the frightened daughter standing in front of me. I looked toward the landing area. Then back at her. And made a decision. The same decision that would completely change the atmosphere of that day. Including Emily's understanding of why I had really come.